Good morning and happy Tuesday. Welcome back to the Daily Grind. I'm your host, Chump Change. This is live and recorded. For anybody that might be new here, what we typically do is go over crypto news in the space, update myself, bring you guys along for the ride. Let's see who's here in the chat, and then we'll get into this. Mr. DJ Mines in the house, probably trolling me. I didn't even read it yet. Mr. Max Voltage, good to see you. We have Black Hat Team, Backwards Miner, Vinny, good to see you. Cough Mining, what's up, man? Russia will send help. Oh, Russia send help, he says. Yeah, what is this Russia wanting to ban crypto stuff? Kind of weird. We're gonna watch a video from Altcoin Daily at some point. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, so I want to see what it's all about. Kyle Rosa, good to see you, man. We have Dumpster Fire, not James in the house. Let's see. Chris Hanley, good to see you, buddy. Patrick Murphy, all set. My man Cyber Moss, Blaine Anderson, Scott Sheffield, mining to fill my bags. I love that name. Yonel, good to see you. Joe Booty, if that's how you say that. Sorry if I just butchered your name. Let's see. DDA4, what's up, man? All right, let's get into this. Anybody else I may have missed, I apologize. Let's see. We have Bitcoin $61,244. We got Ethereum at 3,001. Man, that's having a pullback, huh? Solana 128. Man, Solana has been dipping. Everything's been really kind of just fire sale everywhere. Literally everything. Casp is under 11 cents. Look at this. I actually got more Casp yesterday. I swapped all of my Crow into it because Crow was actually up on the day and Caspa was down. I was like, perfect opportunity. Get a few more Caspa coins over the Crow because I don't need it, right? ETC 25 bucks. Let's see. Dogecoin's at 13 cents. Damn. I think ETC and Doge might be decent buys right now. LTC as well. Honestly, anything's a good buy right now, to be honest. Everything is a good buy. All right, let's show you crypto bubbles. Biggest loser on the day looks to be Pendle. Pendle, $4.36, down 15.9%. Where's Bit&Soar? Is that here anywhere? Max, you still here? Is that how you say it? I don't see it. Max was giving me shit last night in his live stream, so I'm gonna have to say it like that forever now. BitTensor, he says. Fetch AI is down 7.4%. We have WIF down 10.4%. HNT is down 5.1% at $5.50. We have Say down 6.7%. Look at that. Safe is down 8.8%. What the hell is Safe? Safe. Don't think I've ever seen this. What the hell is this? $1.85. It just got into the 100th spot. Oh, apparently that triggers people when you say it wrong. Listen, for the record, I used to say it both ways because I wasn't sure exactly how you were supposed to say it. Wild. Why did I say wild? WorldCoin, that's what I meant to say. $4.35, down 5.4%. We have Core down 8.5%. If anybody cares, $1.91. Again, WIF's down 9.9%. That's crazy. LTC down 5.2%. Injective down 7% to 23.46. Man, everything's on sale. Oh, you can see right here. Pro is up 2.7%. So that's what I did. I swapped it about 13.5 cents or so yesterday into Caspa. I felt like that was a good play just because it's up and everything else is down, right? So see what happens. But HNT is doing I guess the best on the day. Yeah, in the top 100 coins anyways. Renders down 5.1% as well, $7.31. Crazy. All right, flashbang. Let's see. We have 67 on the greed chart. Perfect. That's exactly what we want. We want it under 75. If this needle was pegged up here, I would be expecting a giant pullback. But right now, I think we're just kind of floating sideways, trading sideways. Over 75 is really where I start worrying about this. But again, overall consensus of the entire crypto ecosystem basically is right here in this little needle. All right, top 10 coins over here by coin market cap over on CoinGecko. Let's see, we have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether, BNB, Solana, USDC, Lido Stakes, Ether, XRP, Dogecoin, and Toncoin. Cardano still in 11th place. Man, I'm shocked Toncoin's holding up this high. Kind of crazy. Let's check out the trending coins real quick. Trueflation, we have Pendle and Woofy. I don't know how you're supposed to say that. Well, that's up 185%. Damn, what is this? Solana meme coin. Yeah, what else is new? Solana meme coin. All right. Well, that answered that question. Bitcoin Cash is down quite a bit from the past, the halving it had about a month ago or so. Let's see. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to add me in the chat. Patrick Murphy says SafeCoin is a community-led project that emphasizes privacy and security, incorporating features of Komodo and Zcash into its privacy ecosystem. Interesting. Thank you. Appreciate it, Mr. Patrick Murphy, for throwing that in there. All right, Hedera. How do you guys feel about this one? What's going on here? I know there was some FUD with BlackRock, but man, this shit went up to like 17, 18 cents. I know Fully Electric was able to get out of it, so congrats to him. I don't know about anybody else. Let's see. Caspa down in 45th place. Oh, there it is, Max. There it is, Max. Fit and sore, right? I know he's fucking squeezing that raisin bread he's eating right now. So hard. I'm just kidding. It's BitTensor. BitTensor is down 7.5% to 371 bucks. Bye, Crypto KJ. Have a good day, buddy. All right, so getting into the mining segment of things. Let's see. We have the Bitmain Antminer KS5 Pro 21 terahash unit at $92 a day. You guys know I like to timestamp this stuff, see what we were making. We have the KS5 20 terahash unit making 88 bucks a day. The KS5L 12 terahash unit making 49.23. We got the AL box still holding up fourth in the chart, but it's down a bit today. This is the 180 watt unit, 360 gigahashes at a I can't even like joke about it. Like, it's just awful, the price. Like, if it's really $11,000, it's disgusting, but it's making $44.57 a day. That is crazy. That is crazy. Crypto KJ, that's just rude, bro. Words hurt, man. Words hurt. I don't know. Yeah, this lithium miner, man, I really wonder if anybody's gonna get it and actually profit from it, or at least be able to pay it back. I think you were able to get it off Gold Shell for like 7K, if I'm not mistaken. We have the BMKS Max 11 terahash unit Caspa miner, again 4206 a day. Again, this is all at 10 cents kilowatt hour if anybody's just joining. Windminer K9 10.3 terahash unit making 41.34 a day. We got the Ice River KS3 8 terahash unit making $30.58. The X16P from Jingle Mining, this is the ETC miner, or you can mine ETH hash as well. I guess ETHW and ZIL is the most profitable here, $24 a day. That's actually decent, but the price on this unit is way too high. The KS3M 6 terahash unit making $20.54 a day. I'm still the most proud of my L7 that is over 3 years old, or the machine itself is about 3 years old, right, since when it came out, or over 3 years old. I've only had mine for about a year. No, a little over a year. About a year and a half or so, roughly a year and a half. But this thing's been, man, it's been killing it lately. $10.40. This thing was making like 20 bucks a day the other day. Again, Litecoin and Doge, more or less, you're 85% Dogecoin on the profits here. Let's see. The AL box was $42 yesterday, wasn't it? I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look, to be honest. It's still holding up here, though. I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, again, shout out to Terra Hosting. That's where I got my unit down there, mining at 10 cents kilowatt hour, because up here, you know, I'm paying 30 cents. It's disgusting. The KS2 from Ice River Caspa miner, $6.69. That's freaking awful. That is so awful. We have the KS1 1 terahash unit making $3.34. Bruh. That's terrible. The Gold Shell KA box, this thing up here is making $4.68 a day. This is a 400 watt unit, 1.18 terahashes. Is this unit worth it, you guys think? Probably not worth the price, to be honest, but if that's the accurate price, I'm not even sure. Let's see, scrolling down a little bit. Look at these. What in the hell? B1 mini. Is this the gold one? Oh, guys, I apologize if this makes any noise when I click on it. It didn't, thank God. All right, look, this is the gold unit. Wow, it's profitable. It's profitable at 10 cents. Look at that. Interesting. Oh God, there we go. Weird. I wasn't expecting to. I guess I just haven't noticed these things still being up here on the chart. The KS0 Pro 200 gigahash unit, 100 watts, making 71 cents a day. That's terrible. That's terrible. I actually made the decision to unplug the 8 today and only allow 2 to run because it's pretty cloudy out. Actually, I forgot to drop that short. I actually uploaded it this morning. Let's see. Patrick Murphy said, "Is anything profitable on this page at 30 cents?" Actually, you know what? You know what's interesting? Hold on. Before I get to that, I want to scroll down. Where's my S19K? It was way down here yesterday. Where is it? Oh God. Oh my, gross.
Bruh.
This thing is 115th on the list at 10 cents kilowatt hour. I am losing money. 120 terahash unit mining Bitcoin, losing 85 cents a day at 10 cents kilowatt hour. But the interesting thing about this, right? So you can see it's 115, 85 cents. Let's go down to 9 cents and see where it is, right? It's crazy how much Bitcoin miners move with 1 cent. You know what? I'm gonna, oh, I just like saw it and I was just gonna make it easier. All right, so 19 cents, right? That's at 9 cents. We're losing 19 cents. I'm just gonna type in the S19K. There we go. All right, 8 cents. You're profitable. So these big guys that are mining with like 4 cent electric, they're still making $3 a day. 3 cent electric, 2 cent electric. Like anybody with free electric's making out $5 a day, $6 a day almost. But man, like you're not profitable if you're anything over 8 cents right now. And most of the big guys, like even if you're getting hosted, they're paying less and you're paying more. It's how hosting facilities make their money, right? Like they have to do that. It makes sense. The way this works is yeah, anybody that's under 8 cents is still making money. So these big mines aren't going to shut off. I mean, not yet until the price goes down further, but that's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Let's see, 30 cents. Is anything on that list profitable at 30 cents? Probably not. Let's see, we'll go up. We'll do it. 30 cents. All right, so look at this. So this is what I pay. This is what I pay here in Massachusetts. I got KS5 Pro, 21 terahash unit. Look at this. $76 a day you're still making on this thing. Like, see, this is why I like Caspa, because the Caspa miners are still like holding top of the charts. Like, look at this. Even at 30 cents, I'm still making 23 cents a day on my KS0 Pros. Granted, it's not a shit ton, right? It's $2.30 if I have all 10 of them running. Like, but that's still pretty decent, right? Look at this. Even the original KS0 is making a penny a day. if I wanted to keep this thing on, like that's crazy. That's just crazy. I don't know. That's crazy to me. Anyways, all right, let's see. We have over here hashrate.no, getting over to the GPU side of things. Let's see, Nexa. What in the hell? Look at that. Nexa's top of the charts, the 4090. Perfect. We got the 170HX over here mining Ironfish. We have Pyron, Ironfish and Pyron, and Nexa on the 4080 Super. Cortex on the 4080 with Nexa. Looks like Nexa's top of the charts for pretty much a lot of the cards. Xano 7900 XT, 7900 XTX is Graham, Ironfish and Graham. Nice, not too bad. Conflux and Pyron. Interesting. I think we saw that yesterday too on 3080. Weird. Yeah, you guys got a plethora of coins to look through today. Grin, look at this on the 6900 XT. Damn, that's crazy. Let's see. If you have 50 machines, you can get hosted in the AEU for 5 cents USD. Wow. Finding to fill my bags. That's actually sick. Really? Damn. That's crazy. I didn't know that. All right, let's move on to mining pool stats. Let's see. New coins. See if we got any over here. Ooh, AI D-Pin. Look at this freaking buzzword coin. Perfect. A Duke into this thing. Look at this. Dude, they're dipping their toes in all the right things. Look at that. AI and D-Pin all in one spot. Yeah, you guys better throw all your money on this one. Again, don't go to these websites unless you want to get a virus. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I don't know anything about this coin, but don't click on things inside random websites, right? It's like going in a stranger's house and hopefully they don't punch you. All right, that's what's happening right here. Let's see. AI D-Pin platform connecting GPUs to connection GPUs to everyone. Monetize and maximize your GPU easily and access the computing power you need for your AI job. I don't think. What? All right, let's see how it works. Suppliers and aggregate GPU computing resources. Customer, I gotta zoom in. I can't see this shit. An enterprise with unused GPU. Oh, sorry, unsaid GPU in a data center. What is it? I don't understand this. Hold on. Our project is dedicated to democratizing access to the cutting-edge computing power solutions, ensuring that they are available to everybody without exception. In addition to addressing the needs of applications, our project also aimed to individuals providing access to their computing power necessary for personnel projects, such as video editing or 3D rendering. Man, I feel like this is just like something with ChatGPT. They just like threw this website together. It's a bunch of horse shit. It's built on Kapow. All right, that's one. I don't know. Is this? Man, I'm gonna have to look into this later. I don't want to give this too much airtime. I don't. Oh, my mouse is going crazy. Tokenomics. Total offer 500 million. Where's the information? I want to see. I want to see if there's like a pre-mine or a register now on our supplier list. Like I don't know. This is way too soon for me. I'm gonna have to dig into this. I'm gonna look into this later today. I'll let my VIPs know if I think it's a good idea. I'll let you guys know. But yeah, it's probably just be careful. It is probably I'm just gonna live off hype coin, to be honest. That's just my opinion. I don't know anything about it, but we're gonna find out. All right, Kevacoin halving in 12 days. We have Pyron. We have fifth inning for Pyron in 21 days. Ethereum Classic 30 days from now, going through a fifth inning as well. Yeah, pretty much all I care about. 30 days from now, about a month. We will check that every day. All right, let's move on to the news. I want to see what's going on in the world. We have Bitcoin and Ethereum drops as investors question the U.S. economy's strength. Let's see what they got to see over here on CNBC Crypto World. Guys, the like button. Appreciate you for hanging out. Let's do it.
Today, Bitcoin sinks as global economic pressures mount. Yuga Labs, the creator of the Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT collection, announces job cuts. And Anthony Georgiades of Innovating Capital breaks down how economic uncertainties are pushing crypto markets lower.
That AI D-Pin is doing airdrops too. Oh God. Yeah, they're definitely hitting all the buzzwords.
Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Jordan Smith. Crypto prices are in the red this morning after a weekend of trading in which we saw Bitcoin's price swing between $62,000 and $64,000. By noon Eastern, that cryptocurrency was smack dab in the middle, trading at $63,000. Ether, meanwhile, fell to $31.81 and Solana dropped to $136. Investors are still making sense of the current economic situation around the globe. Here in the US, GDP data last week showed the economy grew less than expected in Q1, all while inflation data shows prices are still going up faster than the Fed's 2% goal. Now, all of that is likely to be on the Federal Reserve's radar as it meets this week, but Wall Street widely expects interest rates to remain unchanged. That being said, Treasury yields are moving lower today as well, something that would normally raise Bitcoin's price, and we'll talk about that more for our main story. All right, first, let's talk about today's headlines. Yuga Labs, the company behind the Bored Ape Yacht Club NFTs, is cutting staff as part of a restructuring. The company's CEO, Greg Solano, announced the layoffs Friday on X, sharing screenshots of the message he sent to Yuga Labs teams. In the note, he shared that Yuga lost its way and is going from 0 to 1 again. Solano, who is a co-founder of the company and has been CEO since February, didn't specify how many jobs were affected. Bored Ape Yacht Club transaction volumes have fallen more than 98% from their peak in August of 2021, according to data from CryptoSlam. Next, the Department of Justice is pushing back against Tornado Cash developer Roman Storm's motion to dismiss charges.
Oh shit.
Back in March, Storm's attorneys argued that referring to Tornado Cash as a mixing service is misleading and that it's neither a currency mixer or a service. They also went into detail on how Tornado Cash works to prove that point.
Could we be honest though? Tornado Cash was kind of sketchy. It was kind of sketchy.
Government, meanwhile, argues in this latest filing that the motions should be dismissed entirely and reiterated the claim that Tornado Cash laundered at least $1 billion in criminal proceeds and even facilitated the laundering of funds used for North Korea's weapons of mass destruction program. The DOJ says it expects to prove Tornado Cash executed anonymous transactions for its customers and that Storm cannot obtain dismissal of the indictment by simply making factual assertions about his own contested view as to how the Tornado Cash service operated. All right, let's go back to markets for our main story. After crypto's price swings over the weekend, I spoke with Anthony Georgiades, general partner at Innovating Capital, to get his take on how macroeconomic pressures are weighing on the crypto market. I want to start with Treasury yields. The yield on the 10-year Treasury has come down from its Thursday high after we got that U.S. economic data showing GDP growth fell below expectations. It's unusual to see both Bitcoin and Treasury yields moving lower together rather than opposite directions of one another. What do you think? What do you make of that move of seeing Bitcoin sort of fall with Treasury yields in the past few days?
Yeah, there's a lot going on in general right now, obviously from both kind of a monetary, but really what's becoming a big highlight is the fiscal policy, which I'll touch on in a sec here. As you mentioned, Treasury yields are down. We had a GDP print last week that really showed a bit more of a sluggish economy, while higher core PCE comes and demonstrates that, hey, inflation's certainly sticking around a bit longer. So this stagflation risk has obviously led to some fears that there might not necessarily be a rate cut for the foreseeable future this year whatsoever. I think the markets are still pricing in one rate hike. With respect to Bitcoin and risk assets, obviously you have two highly conflated efforts here, monetary policy and the fiscal policy side. And I think the markets are really trying to wrap their heads around how that might impact a risk on asset in this particular environment. And I think that there's been obviously less enthusiasm or optimism just with respect to the potential speculation of Bitcoin in this upcoming bull market with respect to ease of monetary policy. But then the other thing I think to think about too is there are certain supply demand dynamics that are happening right now. Halvening just happened. We aren't necessarily seeing the same sort of speculation in that asset class as we saw in previous halvening cycles. And I think a lot of that also has to do with some of the institutional pressure and the dynamics of certain supply flows in the market that are impeding some of those same historical precedents.
Yeah, there's a reason I started with talking about the macro environment versus something like the halving or the ETFs, which are both in the rearview mirror now. It feels like the macro environment is really what's in focus right now. The Fed is meeting this week, and I think that's on the mind of a lot of investors. We don't expect a rate cut coming, and in fact, expectations for a rate cut have been pushed back, as you mentioned. One of the things that we saw with the crypto market as interest rates climbed in the past year and a half is that there was a lot of panic at first, but then people sort of looked past what the Fed was doing. Do you see a situation where if rate cuts get pushed out past 2024 into next year, that eventually some of the concerns from crypto investors might get diminished and they might start paying less attention to the Fed? Or is this something that's going to stay with us until we actually see rate cuts?
Well, we obviously live in an economy that's driven by quantitative policy, easing versus tightening. And so whether or not some of those concerns should really obviously be mitigated, our staunch position and my strong conviction is that the future of Bitcoin is not necessarily going to be totally driven by, pure monetary or fiscal policies, especially one that pertains to a single nation state, being the US. We obviously don't live in that environment today, and Bitcoin is going to be extremely reactive to short-term movements with respect to 10, 25 basis point rate moves. Over the long term, Bitcoin will likely behave more in an inflationary resistant and more safe haven perspective. We're obviously not there yet.
The other thing I want to talk to you about outside of the macroeconomic environment is the regulatory environment. The SEC seems to be picking up the pace on its enforcement actions again, especially when it comes to the DeFi space. We had the Uniswap news not too long ago, and then we had the consensus lawsuit in the face of its own Wells notice. Do you think that the focus on DeFi is problematic for altcoins or Bitcoin going forward, or is this just noise that investors will eventually look past?
It's certainly noise. The regulatory environment is, I'd say, in a very vulnerable state and at a crossroads with regards to what the future of Web3 and digital assets will be in the United States based off of measures that regulatory bodies and legislators enact now. I'm of the opinion that the way that we're seeing things unfold right now is not necessarily the healthiest for the long-term growth prospects of Web3 in the US. And I certainly think that obviously investors, traders, etc., need to be very mindful of certain enforcement actions that are taking place now. That being said, we're seeing for the first time more bipartisan support for clear-cut regulatory guidelines. And obviously that's not going to happen overnight. But I do think that some of the issues we're seeing today with respect to certain enforcement actions will potentially subside over time as there's a more clear roadmap of how you can operate and how you cannot operate.
The other thing we're watching are the Ethereum ETFs. We're expecting an answer on a few proposals in front of the SEC right now, coming up in May. It sounds like people are mixed on whether those will get approved. We saw a huge run up for Bitcoin after the spot Bitcoin ETFs were approved. If these ETFs don't get approved, do you think that will hit Ethereum's price? Will that have any effect on Bitcoin? What are your expectations there? Do you think that they'll get approved?
I'm very bearish on the concept of an Ethereum ETF. The SEC has made it very clear. At one point in time, it had labeled Ethereum as a sufficiently decentralized asset. That was obviously pre-merge. Unfortunately, Ethereum became somewhat of a captured network post-merge. And when that occurred, you obviously are dealing with a self-staked asset. Obviously users must self-stake 32 ETH in order to actually operate validators on the network themselves. And in theory, that's great. But certain features of Ethereum that enable effectively pooling of assets and liquid staking in the form of Lido or Coinbase or things like that led to a somewhat captured network. And so Ethereum today, validators are really controlled by, I think the last time I looked, it was the top 4 or 5 validator providers controlled over 50% of the network. It makes it much easier to freeze transactions. It makes it much easier to obviously communicate or corroborate with certain regulatory bodies if things need to be reversed or if certain transactions need to be blocked. And it also lends itself to the fact that Ethereum is not sufficiently decentralized. So I think there are a few issues right now with the Ethereum network and how it's actually positioned that the SEC is not going to necessarily allow it to effectively have the same underlying label as Bitcoin did in being sufficiently decentralized. And until it determines whether or not it's actually security, I don't see an ETF in the future.
All right, that's all for Crypto World today.
That sucks. That's pretty shitty call, actually. I really want to see the ETF only because, well, for one, obviously I hold Ethereum. 2, Ethereum's a big part of our space. Whether you guys want to admit it or not, it's a big part of crypto. A lot of shit runs on it. So we lose that. I don't know where things are going to go from there because they're not going to be, I don't know if they would be opening up to a Solana ETF or something along those lines if Ethereum doesn't pass. You know what I mean? Kind of one of those things. All right, I'm going to kill this poll in the chat. I just did that for all you guys to get upset about it. Make Ethereum mineable again. 70% of you said yes, 30% said no. Sorry, 69% said yes. All right, let's move on to Altcoin Daily's video. Then we're going to get into Crypto Zombies. This is a bit longer, and he talks about the stagflation stuff. But I want to hear about this Russia shit because I haven't heard this yet. So let's do it.
Breaking news. Russia is preparing for a total and complete crypto ban, announced earlier today. If you hold crypto, hit the like button. Bitcoin holders need to see
Yes,
this.
please.
The details are as follows. Russia will now enforce a strict ban on the general circulation of crypto assets such as Bitcoin, allowing only digital financial assets within its jurisdiction.
Ooh, real quick, fully electric. That's a great point. He said CCXD, everything can be ported to ETC from ETH with no dev mod. Ooh. Perfect. That's kind of a good thing, actually.
Russia. This initiative, led by the chairman of the State Duma Committee on the Financial Markets, is part of a broader governmental effort to control the crypto ecosystem amid rising geopolitical tensions. Russia.
God, you got me thinking now, fully electric. What do I want to do with my bags now? Do I want to just sell it all out and put it into Ethereum Classic because it's still at 3K? Damn, that's a good call.
Russia released this statement in explanation, stating that the forthcoming legislation aims to restrict non-Russian crypto operations to reinforce the ruble's dominance, explaining digital financial assets issued in Russian jurisdiction and digital rubles will be allowed. The need for a ban is due to the fact that today cryptocurrency is a quasi-currency that replaces the ruble in the country, but only the Russian ruble fulfills the mission of the monetary unit, so this decision has been made. This is so weird that
That is
Putin
weird.
would do this. This is so weird that Russia would ban Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Because when you look at their history with Bitcoin, not only do they seem to like it, Russia accepting Bitcoin and crypto donations for their war against Ukraine, a number of pro-Russian groups have raised crypto assets to the tune of 20 million to help them fight Ukraine. So they're
Well, that's just an easy way to get money, right? And obviously to take it from our country instead of like other ways.
using Bitcoin and cryptocurrency for its intended purpose. But not only that, Putin has always demonstrated a mindset massively ahead of Western leaders when it comes to Bitcoin. Listen to this 30-second clip. A Russian citizen asks Putin, will Russia have its own cryptocurrency? And Putin seems to truly understand what makes Bitcoin valuable.
Первый вопрос, будет ли у России какая-нибудь своя криптовалюта? Второй
It's not even English. First question is whether Russia will have its own cryptocurrency. Second question is whether it's going to be regulated somehow by the government.
будет ли это как-нибудь контролироваться государством? И в-третьих, считаете ли вы, что в ближайшем будущем криптовалюта полностью заменит
Third, do you think it will, in the near future, replace the standard money we use today?
наши обычные стандартные деньги?
Ну, вопрос, который вам задали,
Well, the question that you're
он задан,
asking is
несколько
formulated
некорректно,
incorrectly
потому
because
что
Russia having
своей
its own
криптовалюты
cryptocurrency
у
is
России
impossible by
не может
definition.
быть по определению. Так же, как не может быть
Just as it is
своей
impossible for any other
криптовалюты
country to
в
own their own
любой другой
cryptocurrency,
стране,
because if
потому
we
что
are
если мы говорим
talking
о
about
криптовалюте, то
cryptocurrency,
это
it
то,
is
что
something
выходит
that
за
is
рамки национальных
beyond
границ.
national
I don't
borders.
think the news here is that Russia is preparing for a total crypto ban. I don't think the news here is that Russia is going against Bitcoin because they understand Bitcoin. They use Bitcoin.
Well, people that are listening can't read.
I think the news here
Just saying.
is that
why I read
Putin
it.
is going after the US dollar. Putin wants to strengthen the ruble as the US dollar weakens. And this is congruent with exactly what he was talking about on that recent Tucker Carlson interview. Listen to the way he talks about the US dollar, keeping in mind what we know today.
You know, to use the dollar as a tool of foreign policy struggle is one of the biggest strategic mistakes made by
This is like one of them old Chinese movies. You see the mouth moving and the words not lining up. You guys know what I'm talking about.
the US political leadership. Nevertheless, it is the main weapon used by the United States to preserve its power across the world. As soon as the political leadership decided to use the US dollar as a tool of political struggle, a blow was dealt to this American power. I would not like to use any strong language, but it is a stupid thing to do and a grave mistake. Look at what is going on in the world. Even the United States allies are now downsizing their dollar reserves. Seeing this, everyone starts looking for ways to protect themselves. But the fact that the United States applies restrictive measures to certain countries, such as placing restrictions on transactions, freezing assets, etc., causes grave concern and sends a signal to the whole world.
I mean,
Not
look,
wrong.
truth be told, some people even speculate that Putin created Bitcoin to destroy America. I do
Get out of here.
think Putin wants to one-up America. I don't think Putin created Bitcoin, but Putin's always been a fan of Bitcoin, and people recognize this.
You know who's behind Bitcoin? Putin. It's a Ruski conspiracy to fuck up the American economy and the world. It's a long-range plan he started 7-8 years ago. He's going to
fuck
see
outta
the
here.
demise of the Western financial world while he's still the head of Russia. And he's already hacked into the brains of all the morons. You.
So what's the takeaway?
What do you guys think? Do I need to start a poll? What do you guys think? You think that's actually true?
Here? Well, in my opinion, if you've been in cryptocurrency for a long time, like I have, we always used to see that China FUD. China's banning Bitcoin. Every year they did it. And I think this Russian news is in a very similar vein to that. Tell me what you think of the Russia banning crypto news in the comments below. Do you agree with
I think
me?
it's some bullshit,
Do
to
you
be
disagree
honest.
with me? Or do you agree with Michael Saylor that Bitcoin is still at a point where everybody in the world needs it, nobody in the world can stop it,
Yeah,
and
that's all-
almost
I think it's all
nobody
bullshit, to be
understands
honest.
it? 10 years ago,
It's just, dude, it's, yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, any type of publicity, I guess, is good publicity, right? But yeah, I don't know. They're just flooding the shit out of stuff, to be honest. They're not gonna, they can't. How are you going to ban something that you can't control? That makes no sense, for one.
ago, it was Apple and Amazon. Today, it's Bitcoin.
The Russian hackers would be out of work, says Black Hat Team here. 1000% correct.
Best idea, if you want to make 10x your money, is you buy something that everybody in the world needs, nobody in the world can stop, and almost nobody understands.
Perfect.
Okay, so in 2010, that was Amazon, or that was Apple, or that was Facebook, or Google.
Good point.
These are all dominant digital networks that everybody in the world needed, that nobody could stop. But if you'd ask the typical mainstream investor, is this a good investment? They would all say, oh, it's very scary, it's overvalued, Amazon doesn't make money.
Now look at it today.
You know, mobile phones used to cost $50. You know, it's like
yeah, what in the hell happened to that? Mobile phones costing $50. They're like $1,200 now. That's insane.
Apple's going to sell an iPhone for $600. They said it's too expensive. The iPhone $600 is too expensive. Nokia will sell me one for $30. They said Apple's going to go to $30. And of course, what happened is Apple went to $1,500.
Yes.
And so the conventional wisdom was against these big tech companies.
Now, where one country falters, another country...
Is it just iPhones? Do Samsungs and stuff, Androids have, are they like, they have expensive versions? Like, are they pricey or no? Just wondering. Because I have no idea. I haven't bought an Android in forever. Actually, I keep all my phones for like years, even though they're like broken. I don't know if you can see that. I dropped this one at Terra. If I take off the back, see the camera's not broken, but everything behind it's broken. Just fell off the shelf while I was working.
It picks up the slack and shines. Bitcoin ETFs coming to Australia. This news was first broken by Bloomberg, and the info is as follows. Australia gearing up for major Bitcoin ETF rollouts in 2024. These are spot Bitcoin ETFs.
Australia, friggin' Hadouken to you guys.
Australia, one of their largest and most prominent securities exchanges, has just revealed that they're strongly considering approving their first spot Bitcoin ETFs by as soon as the end of this year. This happens in 2024. Now, even bigger news, ETF issuers, some of the biggest in the game, are backing them. They have ETF issuers like BetaShares and Van Eck leading the charge for Bitcoin ETF approvals in Australia. These two issuers in their corner at the very start is a big deal. Now, this is a bullish metric, and the same can be true about the American market, so consider this. Australia's $2.3 trillion pension sector could be a significant driver of demand for these new ETFs. So the pension sector in the US, as well as Australia, as well as almost any place with a spot Bitcoin ETF, this will create incredible demand for Bitcoin. And Michael Saylor here articulates why, because of all this, Bitcoin is primed. Listen.
It's the first time in human history that we created a commodity with a hard supply. Every money in history, glass beads and bales of tobacco and stone coins and copper tokens and paper currency and cigarettes and fiat currency, all of those things were uncapped. Every other commodity, soybeans and oil and natural gas and gold and silver, uncapped. We can create more of them. Land, timber, real estate. You can even extract land from the sea. You can create more of it. Bitcoin is the one commodity that you can buy and you can hold where it is absolutely capped 21 million. So if the price goes up by a factor of 100, the supply is invariant. There is no other commodity where the supply is invariant to the demand or to the price. That makes it perfect money. It makes it the best store of value asset. Most other commodities are much worse. If a commodity has a stock to flow ratio of 1, and you produce, twice as much, or the equivalent supply every year, it's not going to be good money. If the stock to flow is 50, it might be better money if you only inflate the supply by 2% a year, like gold. But it's still not great because every 30 years you cut your money in half if you inflate 2% a year. So this leap from the idea that there should be a 2% inflation rate to the idea that there should be a 0% inflation rate. That's a profound idea.
Also important to note that Australia wants to launch Ethereum spot ETFs as well. And this info about pension funds in the pension sector, totally true. People don't even think about this. People don't even think about the fact that a lot of ETF buyers, like
What in the hell is going on down in the bottom right corner with that girl in the lipstick? Real quick, I was looking at that phone the DJ said he has. What? Or it's literally the same thing as an iPhone. Insane. Storage for this, the 512 is friggin' $1,400, and the 1 terabyte $1,659. That's insane. That's crazy how much these phones are.
wirehouses, have yet to even come on yet. Kathy Wood talks about this.
In our business, what's interesting is the wirehouses, which dominate our customers. So Morgan Stanley, all the advisors at these wirehouses, Morgan Stanley, UBS, Merrill Lynch at B of A, Wells Fargo, not one of them has approved Bitcoin on its platform. That hasn't even happened yet. And those are our primary clients. When that happens,
explosion.
The fact is, there's a lot going on in cryptocurrency right now. Overall, I'm bullish. I mean, so much is happening. This is a good thing. There's a lot of interest in crypto right now. People are embracing it. People are.
Anyways, shout out to Altcoin Daily for that. All right, let's move on to Crypto Zombie. Bitcoin flashes a massive clue, stagflation warning, 1970s again, question mark. Look at this background for one. This background behind him, like this, I'm totally jealous of this pool. I don't know if he's on vacation or if he's just got too much money. It's one or the other. Let's get into it.
What's going on, guys? K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today.
Look at that pool, man.
Now, Bitcoin is still just hanging out in this area. We're still technically in the range between around 60,000 to sort of 72,000, but we have been putting in lower lows and lower highs. Now, obviously, you can take the bullish perspective that we're putting in some form of a bull flag, which would have a...
That's exactly what I was thinking, Vinny. He says on the balcony from the other day, grotto in the background. Yeah, dude, 100%. 100%. No, the water was moving. He was downstairs yesterday. I mean, not yesterday, the other day when we watched this video.
You know, massive target up around 90,000 plus or something like that. Or there is some fears that something else could be transpiring. And what I'm talking about specifically, I'm sure you've probably heard this word 1,000 times, is stagflation. You could see that there are fears that we could have potential stagflation in the US, which is something that we really haven't had since the 1970s. And while it wasn't really the greatest time to be around, I'm sure you may have seen the charts and you know the stories are.
How was it, Max? A good time to be around, or was it bad?
Really just roll some clips of what's been around the news recently.
GDP, first look, first quarter.
Just kidding.
A disappointment.
The annual rate, 1.6% between January and March. The expectation was 2.4%. This is a much lower than anticipated number.
We were expecting stronger growth. As you said, lower than expected.
If we look at the price index, it's higher, 3.1%.
The consumer is slowing down. Inflation remains high.
How do you spell stagflation? Weaker growth, higher price action?
The worst of both worlds, really. The stagflation conversation perhaps back.
Yep. Stagflation is not a headline that Biden is going to want to see.
Jamie Dimon warned of the risk of stagflation.
This is what you call stagflation, and potentially, I hate to say that we're there, but you know, when you have a slowing economy and at the same time you have increased prices, it's not a great place to be.
So there's no denying it that we have seen sort of the S&P, you know, traditional stocks, for example, kind of struggling. Bitcoin has also had some downwards pressure. In fact, if you want to be transparent about what's going on with the ETFs right now, even they've slowed down a little bit, right? We haven't seen as much inflows recently. So could this all have something to do with these fears of the lack of rate cuts and the economy slowing down, right? Is that just what we're seeing? Well, what's quite interesting is that Bitcoin is giving us some very interesting signals. In fact, if we look at what the Bitcoin whales are doing, they could be giving us a very big clue as to what could potentially be happening moving forward. So I want to talk about all that today. Very interesting video. And also I want to end on, again, a massive sector in crypto that I think a lot of people are overlooking. You know, there's these talks about, you know, crypto and Bitcoin moving to TradFi, right? But Is that really what's happening, or is traditional finance actually moving into more of decentralized finance? So we're going to get into all that today. If that sounds good to you, you know what to do if you guys are not subscribed. And of course, friendly reminder, guys, that the
I do have a link to Crypto Zombie down in the description. Go check him out.
Start right here. So according to Monday's QCP Capital report, there are some worrying data that has come out in the US with a weaker than expected GDP print that points to a more sluggish economy, while the higher core PCE warns of an inflation problem that continues to be a thorn in the Fed's side. The report
Max Voltage in the chat said the Fed isn't being aggressive enough with the rate increases, and yeah, probably.
Added that if the U.S. GDP continues weakening and inflation remains sticky, that the U.S. might go into a stagflation scenario, a combination of negative GDP growth and high inflation, right? Now, just to put this in a perspective, you could see when we had this right here, predominantly sort of between the years 1974 to 1976 with the big oil shock that we had back in the 70s. So I am going to touch on that in just a minute, but you can see that they say despite the macroeconomic uncertainty, they do see a potential for 1.4 trillion liquidity injection in the U.S. economy, and this could be a main driver for continued bullishness into the end of the year. And before we go on any farther, I just want to point out that first of all, they've been calling for this doom and gloom scenario literally for the past 2 years. Nothing has transpired yet. While everybody was bearish when Bitcoin was down at $16,000, we were very bullish on this channel because we know what ends up happening. They turn on the money printers. It's pretty simple. You either start printing money or you literally let the economy crash. Now, there might be some conspiracy theorists out there that say maybe that's what they're going to do. I don't know. Most likely, Jerome Powell doesn't want to go down in history as the guy that crashed, the whole country. So I don't see that as a plausibility. I see more that they're probably going to just maintain these rates higher. Another rate raise I don't think is in the cards, but what do I know? I'm not an economist, but I will.
I'm going to read this one because I know Max is at work. DJ asked if y'all had toilet paper in the 60s and 70s.
Say is quite unlikely. So, again, just having a look at this area back here. I got to go back a little bit farther. So this area right here is a, sort of when we had that stagflation back.
Max said too much concentration on soft landing. The economy needs a big slap in the face. We need a recession. You can't cheat the cycles.
Back in the 70s, between 1974 and 1976. And I apologize if the wind is in the microphone. It wasn't windy when I first came out, but you guys could see down here that was about a 50% drop in the S&P, right? So that would be pretty catastrophic if we had something like that happen. What would that do to Bitcoin?
That would be an amazing buying opportunity. Can you imagine?
And if the stock market falls 50%, is Bitcoin just going to zero? Well, that's kind of what I want to talk about.
Max says TP, yes, but man, the cheap TP was rough. Only one slip of the finger to find out if you liked it or not, Max.
Because there are some very interesting things to consider. The first thing being that we do have a Bitcoin ETF in Hong Kong right now. And like Willy Woo pointed out, if you look at the number of cryptocurrency users in different regions in the millions, we still, look, North America is only down here, right? So we're like the third largest, but really Asia is, blowing this out of the water. It's almost 3 times as many, right? So this is going to lead a lot of capital. Now, I have seen reports saying that the spot ETF in Hong Kong is not going to be a gateway for mainland China investors. But come on, guys, you really think they're not going to figure out a way to get around this? We already have massive volume coming out of China. They've had that ban for a while. What did that do for Bitcoin price? Nothing. It shocked it temporarily, and then they were still able to gain access to all of these products, right? But this is where it gets interesting, and this is the data that I want to show you guys. So if we have a look at what the Bitcoin whales tend to do, you can see that they accumulate heavily. These wallets grow, and these are wallets with over 1,000 Bitcoin, or at least multiple wallets that we can connect to each other, saying that this is the same entity. Now, let me just preface this before I show you the chart again. We could be in a situation where the whales are getting smarter, right? They don't want to put 1,000 Bitcoin in a wallet, right? So the data might be a little bit skewed. Maybe they have multiple wallets. Okay, so take this a little bit with a grain of salt, but I think the overall trend is pretty much apparent. And as they are accumulating up in these ranges, you could see that that is when the bull run stays intact. And yeah, we can have 30%, 40% corrections, but it really only isn't until they start to slow down and go the other way that we start to see these tops, right? You know, and even right here, we had a little mid-cycle correction, but really they continue to accumulate, right? We had something very interesting here. You could say that 2017, they started to offload a little bit halfway through, but I think the main thing, and you can see right here, they did it straight to the peak, but the main thing I'm trying to say is that when you have an upwards sloping trend, okay, and the trend is going upwards, that tends to tell us that we're not anywhere near the end of this market. And, you know, if I could just zoom in right here, I think you guys could see right above my head, this is basically going up in a straight line, okay? We haven't even begun to start to turn over yet. So this type of accumulation, especially from these whale wallets, again, is something that you really see more.
Like, look at this one. Like, that's what he's pointing out.
In the middle of the bull run, right? You don't see this at the very end. You don't see this at the very beginning. You see this during the middle, right?
Right here.
So this is kind of telling me, if the whales were really freaking out, wouldn't we see this curving the other way? We wouldn't see more whale accounts accumulating at these levels, right? That's the first thing. The second thing, if we look at the Bitcoin power law model, this is also over on Glassnode. This is just basically a very simple relationship between time and price, right? And yes, we can dance below it. It can act as support. It can act as resistance. This has nothing to do with what the price of Bitcoin, you know, should be on any given day, but as you guys can see right here, in all instances, even if you want to go to this fake out that we had right before COVID, a mid-cycle correction, whatever you want to call it, they always at some point peak above this line. And if we look right here, I mean, we're basically just dancing around on the power law area, right? So this is suggesting that we're kind of, again, just in the middle range, right? We're not under it. We've been under it for quite a long time. And generally, once we break above it, we tend to spike price pretty quickly. The other thing that you can look at is a combination.
Yeah, but you can look at the other way as well. You know, we're below it, so is it going to go lower?
And the reason I'm going over this is because I know people think I've been bearish, which I'll get to the charts in a bit. I was talking about potential for some downside action, which we're obviously getting that as I'm making this video. But, you know, you're not really into the overheated area. In all of the CBBI, which combines Pi Cycle, Top, R Hodl, Puel, etc., 2-year moving average, it's basically a basket of indicators. You could see that you don't really have that confidence of the tops until you start getting well above the 90 area, right? Into the 92, and of course 100 is you're at the peak. And our peak that we had over here was really only about 80 to 82. So yeah, you could say, okay, it's getting a little hot, but you know, we've been in these levels before and still had months of the bull run left to go. So this is,
yeah, that's kind of interesting to see this, and then same thing here. Yeah,
it's again not suggesting that we have reached a top yet. It's suggesting that we are in a cool-off period within a larger move to the upside. I mean, just having, I had a long alert come on here.
What do you guys think? What do you guys think? You think we're going to see a lot further down? Because what are we at right now? What's Bitcoin at? Let's just see. 61,222. So, I mean, realistically, I'd like to see it go back down a bit, but at the same time, it's like, man, panic sets in when we pull back a lot.
Taking a look right here, you know, what we're doing is we're having a downtrend, okay, in an uptrend, right? And this is healthy. It's okay if we have that correction. You know, I've talked about coming down and retouching the bottom of this area, and yeah, it's possible. It's not. It doesn't mean it has to happen. I mean, currently we found support on the upwards heart line, right? You know, it could be, you know, just a rough, you know, consolidation in here, and maybe we do break out to the upside. But the reason that I was saying I was a little bit cautious was because the stochastic RSI down here usually doesn't signal a reversal until you have these moving averages cross over, right? You can see right here, right? That's when we had a bounce right here. That's when we had the bounce, not when we were in the middle. When we were in the middle, we were going sideways or going down. And currently, I believe we're closer to ending this move than starting it. So obviously time is on our side, and as time goes by, the longer Bitcoin stays in this area and doesn't have a massive move to the downside, the more likely that you're going to have a continuation. And I think we're very close. So, you know, maybe the worst is behind us, but it doesn't mean we couldn't have a quick move down to some of these Fibonacci extensions or retracements, depending on how you're looking at it. So, you know, the 0.786 is sitting at around 57,000. But remember, guys, as soon as we break out of this range, you basically go into price discovery, and that has our next area at around 102,000. So basically, in a nutshell, to sort of summarize this, right, there is that possibility that Bitcoin does continue to bore people, maybe for another week or so, and we could even have a correction. Who knows? We can have a liquidity grab down to 50,000, down to 48. I don't think we'd stay there very long. I mean, unless you have a buy order set there, I wouldn't be trying to time the markets and catch that move. I would imagine it would be bought up very quickly, the way that all these other dips have been bought up. But after that, it's basically signaling blue skies to 100,000 or higher, right? And that's a very realistic approach. That's not like Moon Boy. It's just a very realistic approach, and it would be very healthy to build that base for the markets overall, right? So this is
Chris Hanley. You think we're gonna get to 54K next month? You think so?
where I wanted to sort of end today's video. So we had the big news about BlackRock starting to have these real world assets, RWA tokenization. This is on the Ethereum network. And they said that the giant is also making strategic investments in asset tokenization company securities, right? And this is really what brings me again to Swarm. This is a project I've actually been incredibly bullish on. They've been in the space for quite a long time, back when it was called tokenized securities. And this guy, Timo, I had an opportunity to speak with him. He has experience as a fund manager and led the U.S. arm of Behringer Finances as a M&A advisor under SEC license. And again, you know, these guys are OGs in the space. So I thought it would be really cool to bring Timo on the channel and have a quick discussion about real world assets, because I think people have it backwards. I think they're like, oh, we're seeing things like Bitcoin and crypto going mainstream, so that means that they're getting more into the traditional finance area. I actually think the opposite is happening. And I've been talking about this on the channel for actually a few years now. The idea of tokenizing real estate, right? Owning equity in a company. And let's say you could just completely bypass the banks or whatever, you know, and you could have that money go directly into your MetaMask, right? And you could have an NFT or something that says that you own percentage property. Well, these things are actually starting to become a reality. So obviously we're going to talk about all different aspects, swarm markets, what they're doing, you know, tokenization of gold and stocks, and really just the broader view of where this space could go. So without further ado, guys, let's hop into that interview with Timo. So, all right, Timo, it's awesome.
Real quick, Max said we did get our red month in April, and that's what we needed, right? Because, I mean, we've never had more than, what, 7 green candles in a row? If we went 8, it would have been first time ever. So we got our red month, and hopefully it comes back.
Having you on the channel, man, I've been wanting to actually talk to you, and you know, I've been interested, obviously, in Swarm. It's something that I've been really noticing lately, especially with the RWA space. BlackRock has come out, so now all of a sudden it's this big buzzword. Now you guys have been in this for a while. I mean, back when they were calling it, you know, securities and all this other stuff, and you know, stable coins, as we had mentioned off camera, were technically the first real attempt at tokenizing real world assets. So I basically just wanted to kind of ask you guys, you know, what is this whole space? What are these things? How are they evolving, and where do you guys sort of play into this?
Yeah, so we started like basically working in this space in 2017, 2018. And I think at the time, like you said, it was called security tokens. And I think like the best example to talk about like what problem we're trying to solve is really like when you have assets that are non-natively crypto. So basically anything like, for example, a stable coin that's supposed to be a value replica of the US dollar, right? So then you always have this tension, like, you know, about the collateral and the backing of those coins, like what's really backing it and how do we know it's being backed? And like that whole conversation has kind of, you know, existed for years, even since Tether started, and then Circle came along and then kind of took a slightly different approach to solving that particular problem. But I mean, tokenized cash was really like the first kind of real example of RWAs that really took off and reached like, you know, I would say like critical mass and momentum. And then now, like you said, like recently, really starting like 18 months ago, when MakerDAO started using like, you know, non-native crypto collateral for DAI issuance, that's kind of when we saw the whole kind of start of the RWA space to take off. And then, so then we saw these US Treasury bonds being tokenized as kind of a first example of that. And then we, of course, you know, then went and tokenized a bunch of, you know, big name public stocks such as Apple, Tesla, MicroStrategy, etc., because we wanted to bring those assets on chain to make them available in like a fully digital environment. So that's kind of, that was the starting point for us. But then, you know, that's only the beginning. And then we're, you know, there's a bunch of stuff to build still.
It's interesting. Real quick, Piranha Cards in the chat said BTC has never had 5 red weekly candles in a bull market. Interesting.
Crazy how you guys were able to catch this so early. I feel like no one was talking about this 3 years ago, but you guys obviously saw that this is the direction that sort of we're moving in. I mean, do you think that, because people joke about the whole, well, the crypto is going, TradFi, right? Because we got the ETF and all this other stuff. But on the flip side, do you think there's actually a potential that we move the other way? Do you see more of traditional finance coming into DeFi with the tokenizations and things like that? Is that where you see the ultimate movement?
That is exactly it. And I think that, you can almost look at it as an integration, right? So it is an integration of, TradFi and DeFi. And so what happens is basically, like, for example, if you're able to use tokenized Apple as collateral in a DeFi application or protocol just to kind of borrow against it and then do whatever you want with those stables, I think that's a very kind of clean cut and clear use case for why you would want to bring TradFi assets on chain as a very kind of basic primitive. And once you have those primitives on chain, then you can do like all the cool stuff you can do in DeFi pretty much. But there's like a really important aspect to it, which is it has to be like available for retail, right? So a lot of the RWA projects that are out there now are basically offering like things like treasury bonds and so forth, and predominantly to institutional investors, which I think is like, that's great on one hand, but it's not really the problem that we're looking to solve. That's why we explicitly file a retail prospectus for our tokenized stocks, because we wanted to make it like possible for anyone to buy either a fractionalized stock or like, millions of dollars of tokenized stocks. And there's like a full range of things you can buy and do with it. And that was really important to us because it's all about like, creating these possibilities for everyone and not only like a few institutions.
Yeah, the thing that I actually find most interesting about you guys is it seems like a lot of the other products out there are more of trackers. You kind of just track the price, but you don't really have the option for redeeming it. But you guys actually have that as a possibility. How are you able to do that? Like, for example, if I, compare it to something like Pax Gold, I want to redeem it. Do I get a bar of gold? Like, how does that work,
Yeah, so I think, well, exactly. And I think those, if you look at like Synthetic Protocol and Mirror Finance, and there were a couple of like early attempts there. And we always saw that like, okay, that's cool, but it's different from having like a one-to-one asset-backed token issuance. So then we decided to go down the route of like one-to-one backing, which means that for every tokenized Apple stock that we bring on chain, there's a Apple share sitting in institutional custody in TradFi that basically is backing the issuance of that token. So I think that was just like, creating as much credibility and, verifiability as possible for the underlying asset. That was like a very key aspect to what we built. And because we never want to have the question of like, oh, how do I know that the thing is there? Like, can you show us that you actually have those Apple shares? So the whole idea is to basically provide like full transparency into the backing of the coins. And then once that's there, well, then you can just start kind of assuming that, okay, so now I have a token that basically represents the economic value of an Apple share, because the next time the market opens, I can sell that share with almost like, unlimited liquidity, because, these big names are trading at such volume. So liquidity is not really an issue at all. It's just the market hours that makes, the TradFi aspect really different from the digital aspect. But, once we have enough secondary liquidity on chain, then the market hours aspect will almost go away, because then it becomes an arbitrage opportunity for some people. But in the end, for most people, they'll just like, trade the tokens, and that's all good.
Yeah, I actually have heard some rumors that the New York Stock Exchange is feeling pressure and they may look to do a 24-hour market now. It was just some rumors. I don't know. I think they're feeling the pressure from crypto, the fact that we don't have hours, that Bitcoin's 24/7. So
oh man, that would be crazy. Could you imagine if they did that? That's definitely a rumor. There's no way that would happen.
And it's a faster economy, now with digital, everything's going digital. For me personally, I actually don't own any stocks. And it really is just because I have no interest in setting up a traditional account. I've been doing crypto for 8 years. So for me, it's actually easier to stay in crypto and do everything, decentralized, or, having my MetaMask, having my assets in my MetaMask. For me, that's actually better. Maybe for other people, that's not the case. But I think overall, like you said, the transparency is a huge problem. I mean, look at the massive crypto contagion that we had last year. And I think it still kind of has people in a little bit of shock. They're kind of scared to touch certain products. Like, for example, I wanted to actually go into this. You guys have like borrowing and lending. But then you see these higher yields and people are like afraid to touch it because of what happened, you know, a couple of years ago with the SBF stuff. So, you know, how is like your approach to this different? You said obviously very transparent, but how would that work with your like borrow and lending, utilizing collateral with you guys, for example? How's your approach different?
Yeah, so that approach is really more about like that the collateral is, you know, pretty much like non-correlated to what's going on in crypto. I mean, for tech stocks, that's not 100% true because there's always like a macro overlay to all these things. But like, if you think about like the volatility of an Apple stock compared to ETH or Sol or something else that you'd be using as native crypto as collateral for on a lending protocol, then of course the tokenized stocks have a completely different nature to them, right? So I think that makes it hugely different from just using like ETH as collateral. Even that's why Maker moved away from only using ETH, because if you remember, like, you know, when we had those like 40, 50, 60% drops on ETH, then, you know, the Maker protocol basically, you know, it almost like broke, right? And then they had to recover that situation. And so I think that volatility is really kind of a challenge when you look at things like lending protocols. So I think we're just like bringing in a different, you know, asset class that allows you to create like more stable baskets that work as collateral for lending protocols. I think that's a huge deal. And once you kind of understand, like, okay, you know, I can buy Coinbase on chain, or I can buy MicroStrategy, which is effectively leveraged Bitcoin with an operational cash flow on top. That's like, those are really cool assets if you're a crypto guy, right? So I think that's how I think about it. It's like you said, a lot of people will never get a traditional brokerage account because it's just so slow, right? I mean, the speed at which you can do these transactions, it's instant settlement. It's basically, you know, you do the transactions within seconds, you know, it's all within your control. It's just superior, right? So the more stuff we can bring on chain, the better people will be off.
You said right now you guys have a few stock options, you have some treasuries, some other assets. What are you, I don't know if you guys can talk about it, like the roadmap, but what are you guys looking to roll out in the future? Because I know you got some exciting things going on.
We do. So first of all, just on the stock side, so the process there is that we have like a framework perspective, so we can file in new public instruments within a few days' time. So if somebody tells us like, hey, we want to bring this asset on chain, we think there's like 7-figure or more demand for this asset in the near term, then we can get that on chain within a few days. So that's like one important aspect of, you know, the flexibility of that structure. The other piece is actually, I mean, yeah, we haven't like launched, but like, you know, we are working on a really cool solution for gold, which is different from, you know, the other gold tokens that are out there. And I don't want to like disclose too much about how that's going to work, but we think that it's very kind of similar. It's like the physical version of Bitcoin, and you will basically look at it the same way once we launch that product. So I think that's a really cool product, you know, to be coming, like to be launched soon. That's all I can say.
I mean, being in the Bitcoin space, you can't not hear about gold. I mean, I'm always hearing the comparison. You know, Peter Schiff is coming out saying it's fool's gold and all this other stuff. But I'm the same way. Like, I don't want to buy a bar of gold. I don't, even though they would say that physically that's what you should do. But, you know, I like the idea of, you know, you can go anywhere in the world, take your Bitcoin with you. So, yeah, I'm not like exactly loading up on gold bars. Personally, that's not my thing. But I wanted to talk about actually the token itself. And obviously, we're not trying to shill anything here. Full transparency. I do own some SMT because I obviously believe in the product and I see the value. But as far as the token itself, there was one thing specifically that was interesting to me, is the fact that you don't have these massive lockups right now, you know, with these VCs and stuff, because that tends to put a lot of downward selling pressure. And it's sort of more of a fair, open, I don't want to say like super fair launch, but I mean, it kind of was in a way.
Yeah,
you know, you didn't have
100%. And I think that's a really important aspect, right? Because we funded this company from the beginning as a centralized regulated company through equity. So that's hugely different if you build like a protocol that's fully decentralized from day one and you're using the token to fund your project. That's not what we did. So we used the token to create like incentives to get the flywheel going. I mean, always when you're developing new protocols and new decentralized applications, then you kind of need to show people what you want them to do. And using the token is like one way of doing that by providing basically different kind of incentives and rewards and discounts for things. And then basically just being able to use the SMT token as a payment token on our protocol. So on the decentralized side, it's like a hugely beneficial to have that token out there to be used across the different applications that we have. And it's like you said, we haven't sold it to any VCs. There's no like massive lockup from, you know, A16Z or somebody else that's just going to come into the market at some point. So yeah, it's just like a different way to build it. And the reason why we did it that way is like it basically because from day one, the company that's doing the regulated portion of this, not the decentralized applications, that is just a traditional equity finance company where Philip and I funded the first, you know, couple of years, and then we got a couple of external investors in.
Yeah, and
who said that? Where is it? Someone said the top is in. Oh, Nerd Beast. Peak is in. CCXD cycle is over 4 more years. Not a chance. No way.
On that side note, for anybody who might be concerned, you know, about the regulation, how are you guys currently regulated? Like what you're working with the MiCA laws? I probably
exactly. So, you know, Europe is coming into this like, you know, pretty, I would say, reasonably clear environment from a regulatory point of view next year. And so on the prospectus side with the tokenized stocks, we're working with the Liechtenstein regulator called FMA. So they're basically the ones that approve these prospectuses. And then on the trading and custody side, it's all about MiCA because everybody in Europe is preparing for, you know, January 1st next year when the whole MiCA framework kicks into gear. And, you know, the theory is that it's going to be the same across all of Europe. We'll see how that plays out. So we actually have a pretty broad view on that landscape right now. So we're not betting on a single jurisdiction for that reason. But, you know, it is going to be comparatively clear in Europe, you know, from a regs point of view. And I think, you know, everybody kind of knows pretty much what's going to happen. Yeah, beyond that, I think there's still some things around NFTs representing assets and some DeFi applications that are still not like addressed within that regulatory framework. That's coming like in like a second or third phase, whatever, we'll see. But so there's still like some room to move around like normal DeFi apps and do the stuff that we're used to. But, you know, in the end, we'll see where all this stuff ends up as well. And I think self-custody has always been a big deal for us. Like, you know, the ability just to hold your assets and control your assets by yourself and then just interact with different applications. That's like one of the core values, obviously, of using a blockchain. And so, you know, we really want to retain that possibility for as long as possible and not like, you know, get all into managed wallets and that's the only way you can do things, because we want to do that because of usability advantages, but not like for people to lose control.
Right. I mean, I'm a huge proponent of self-custody. I know it's not for everybody. Obviously, the ETFs are providing these people who are not comfortable holding their own assets. But even though you're seeing now more of the traditional space come in through, like, let's say these ETFs and things like that, are you finding, I mean, this is like, we're going on 3 years. You've been really focused on this aspect of, you know, RWAs. Do you find that, you know, is it currently just sort of flavor of the month speculation, you know, token price, like, or are you guys actually seeing real demand? Like, are you seeing demand for the products themselves increasing?
Yeah, it's actually brought like a lot of like legitimacy in some ways when like the ETFs were approved and then all of a sudden like the whole space gets like a different stamp from a bunch of people who've been sitting on the sidelines. So I think that's a huge shift for this year, and I think the ETFs you know played a big role in that, including you know all the statements made by BlackRock and others. So I think that's been a really good positive like force for us in the RWA space, because you know basically us and Ondo and Centrifuge and some other projects have really benefited from that. So I think it's like overall it's just like created a better environment for RWAs in general, even if it's not like exactly the same thing. It's actually just like providing more positive pressure on the space. So I think that's been hugely beneficial for us. And it's just like having people like you know Larry Fink saying that all the assets are going on chain, and it's like yeah, we've been saying that for 3 years, but when he says it, it's kind of different, right? So
right. Well, I've been talking about Bitcoin and crypto for 7 years, but of course nobody cares until they start talking about it, or until some billionaire buys it or something, and then it's legit, So it is what it is. I think we're still relatively early. People in the space right now, you could tell watching these videos I see in the comments, it's like, oh, it's too late. I missed out. It's like, you're not late, guys. Do you understand most people are not even thinking about this stuff, like not even thinking about it. So
we're going through the stage right now where everybody's like, feeling like that, like you're too late. But when the time comes that you're going to see this price pump another 10K, then people are going to stop buying in. Like, again, FOMO just hits people differently. It's like when you see somebody buying something, like everybody else that wants to jump on that boat, you know what I mean? And that's when people lose money.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess we can kind of, wrap it up here if you want, but, is there anything you kind of just want to leave my viewers with, or just kind of in general, where do you sort of see this going? I mean, it's not going to happen overnight, obviously, but in general, just what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I kind of see it as like, when people start using this stuff and kicking the tires, and they actually see that, you can do these transactions within like seconds with instant settlement for what would be normally like a 2-day transaction on a traditional brokerage account. And then you start like mixing like the tokenized assets that we have together with your crypto. And then all in the end, it's like, it's no different. It's all within the same wallet. It's all using the same decentralized applications in the end. I mean, that's almost like, that's the aha moment that I think people need to have. So basically go there, go to the decentralized OTC protocols, buy some tokenized Apple stock or MicroStrategy, what have you, whatever you like, and then just kind of see how it works, because I think that's just like, that's the right starting point. And once you do that, then you kind of see, oh, now I can apply this to a lending protocol, or that's pretty cool. Or I can start building like a portfolio that has a mix of MicroStrategy and a bunch of other things in it that it wasn't accessible if I was only a crypto holder before. So I think those are the things that I want people really kind of do and pay attention to, because that's quite eye-opening,
Yeah, just dip your toes in the water, try it out and just see how it goes. And I think that once people start using this, they're never going to want to go back to the old way. I don't even want to go. I'm not even, like I said, I don't even own any stock, and people think I'm crazy. They're like, you don't own stock. I'm like, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to have a Robinhood account where they're closing it and shutting it down and telling me what I can and can't do. And then I can't withdraw my assets, or it's cash settled only, like you said. And that's sort of the thing. I don't want to go on a tangent here. The ETF is all right in the US, but it is all, cash in, cash out, which is great for those people. But I prefer to be able to hold that asset, and have actual ownership over it legitimately. So I think that's why you saw this a few years ago. And, I've heard of lots of projects. I get everyone's talking in my ear, this and that. But when I found you guys and saw what you were doing and realized, especially, I love the fact that equity raising, I think that's amazing. It's just, for me, it's a little more legitimate compared to some of these other raises. And I just really think that you guys really are out in the forefront. So yeah, I mean, for anyone watching, we're just talking here. I wanted to get Timo on to just have a little bit of a discussion. But yeah, check out Swarm Markets. I think they're doing big things. And yeah, I'm really super excited to see where this goes. Very, very excited to see what you guys roll out, even though I know you got to keep a little bit under wraps. But I think people should just go check it out and try it for yourself. So thanks so much, Timo. Great.
I guess we'll have to see. Shout out to Crypto Zombie for that. All right, let's move on to the recap segment of things. Let's see. Mr. Sustainable Crypto, are you a Caspa shark now? He says. I don't even know. What are the tiers? I have no idea. Bitcoin 61,000 for everybody just joining. $262. We have Ethereum at $3,017. Solana 129 bucks. ADA 43 cents. Man, I think this is all on fire sale right now. Caspa super cheap right now, 10 cents. I put 700 bucks of Crow into it yesterday. I swapped it in because the Crow was up and Caspa was down, so it was the time to do it. Let's see. Looks like Manta just popped back into the top 100, 41 cents. I mean, yeah, Mana, Decentraland. I said Manta, weird. Anyways, let's see. Mr. Crypto KJ, thanks, buddy. Hold on, what are we looking like? Oh, so these are the tiers. These are the categories. I'm not going to disclose where I'm at, personally. But let's see. Aquaman is What in the hell? Is that 1 billion? Is that what that is? Crab is 100. I mean, so yeah, 100 to 1K. We have octopus 1K to 10K. Fish is 10K to 100K. Dolphin is 100K to 1 million. A shark is 1 million to 100 million. A whale is 10 million to 100 million. Humpback is 100 million to 1 billion. And then Aquaman 1 billion to 10 billion. Nobody has that much. Wow. You scared the shit out of me. My kid just... Oh my God. That was... Hi. Oh, that was so weird. Dude, I didn't see her at all. Oh my gosh. Scared me. Good morning. Oh my God. That was messed up. Anyways, all right, guys, listen, we're gonna raid Miss Randy Hipper. And yeah, I just had a heart attack on stream. You know how that goes. Kids jump out at you. Dude, it just scared the crap out of me. Anyways, no. All right. Anyways, guys, we're going to go raid Miss Randy Hipper. I will touch base with you guys bright and early tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As you can see, I got to get back to daddy duty, and I got to figure out these lights in the studio. I don't like leaving the lights on, so I got to figure something out today with my soft boxes. If you guys have any suggestions, please feel free to leave it in the comments below. You guys have a great, happy, and safe Tuesday. And until next time, I'll catch you guys soon. Peace, peace.
Perfect. Eat shit.